at the wheel, only one will grind. Every stone shall be upturned and false doctrine shaken, while God's truth and his people are lifted high. Yeah, the Father never needed religion or systems of earth. His truth stands on its own and proves its worth. Yesterday, today, forever. God's promises changes never. And true government is when God leads the leader. Lead them on, yeah. True government is when God leads my leader. Serious thing now. Well, hear the message in the rhythm of problem number one is so plain and simple. Religion, it has sentenced God to death with falsehood and folly. They blindfold sinful people for power and the profit that they get. Amen. Some will burn you at the stake, rock you and wheel you out for many denial or even doubt. With violence and bribery they try, they sold they want to buy. But Jesus said, come freely, all who labor and are weary, come rest in me. Christ say, rest in me. And I said, two shall be, one shall be chosen. Oh yeah, two shall be at the wheel, only one will play. Man, every stone shall be upturned and false doctrine shaken, while God's truth and his people are lifted high. So high, the Father never needed religion or system of earth. No, his truth stands on its own and proves its worth. Yesterday, today, forever. God's promises changes never. Man should government is when God leading the leader, instructing the leader. So you want a government that's trying that truth to represent me and you from the Christian crew, because without a word from God, what we gonna do? Hey, we put a man from the chosen few. Oh my goodness, I never did that. Mathematicians, physicians, politicians, atheists, etc. deny God or decide to just patronize. They tolerate Christianity as just a social matter, to bury, for marriage, to baptize. Amen. Ask the first few presidents of the United States of America. They were Orthodox, practicing Christians, because the philosophy of man is nonsense to God's internal plan. Hey, my true government, boy. Listen, this one bringing back memories, you know. This one bringing back big memories, you know. And I said, two shall. I remember that night for Young Kings. Hey, I'm telling you, two shall be at the wheel. A brother called Young Sing, John Young Sing was there. He sang the song. Every stone will be upturned and false government shaken, while God's truth and his people are singing this one in memory of Patrick Manning. Hey, the Father never needed religion or systems of earth. I love you, Mr. Manning. No, his word stands on its own and proves its word. Mrs. Manning, yesterday, today, forever. God's promises changes never. No man should government is when God leads my leader. I say lead Dr. Rowley. True government is when God leads my leader. I say lead Dr. Rowley. Lead the whole cabinet. Lead them on. Lead them on. Lead the government. We want a government that's tried and true. Lead the government, a government that is heaven sent. Bring down the music. Oh yeah. True government is when God. We got to pray for them. That's what my Bible tells me, and your Bible too. We got to say a prayer for them. We got to lift them up in prayer. I don't know about you, but anybody who could deal with a negative economy I don't bash them. Because I'm not sitting down in that chair. And plenty of all you were bashing, you sit down in that chair. So you really, you know. And then after you deal with a negative economy, you have to deal with Venezuela and show them love. Show them love. And then deal with Petrotrin. Wait, I wouldn't want to be in that seat. Lead them on, Father. I'm praying for you. I got to pray for all them ministers in government, Kenny. I just say I pray for them. That they make some wise decisions for me and my grandchildren and my grandpicnic. Yeah. And then you have to deal with oil price going down to zero. Minus zero. Never happened in the history. You have to deal with that. Then you have to deal with COVID. I prayed for you. True government is when God leads the leader with wisdom and understanding. True government is when God leads my leader. Yeah.
Though sometimes we don't see how they could, struggles that break our hearts in two, sometimes blind us to the truth. Our Father knows what's best for us. His ways are not our own. So when your pathway grows dim and you just don't see Him, remember you're never alone. God is too wise to be mistaken, and God is too good to be unkind. So when you don't understand, when you don't see His plan, and when you can't trace His hand, trust His heart. Plan, and He holds the future in His hands. So don't live as those who have no hope. All our hope is found in Him. We see the present clearly, the first and last, and like a tapestry, He's weaving you and me to someday be just like Him. Oh, God is too wise to be mistaken, and God is too good to be unkind. So when you don't understand, when you don't see His plan, and when you can't trace His hand, trust His heart.
Alright, good morning to those of you locked on to Constructive Talk. It's a strange time for me to be on. Strange time. Normally I'll be on in the night from 8 o'clock. But strange events happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Strange events happening. We have a state of emergency. And the state of emergency, for those of you who are listening on Facebook and those of you who would have been listening, the press conference, those of you who are living outside of Trinidad and Tobago and you're not aware, we are under a state of emergency. We don't have a curfew, but we are under a state of emergency. Interesting, eh? Interesting turn of events. There are some things that I just at times don't understand. But it's an interesting time. We are living in an interesting time in Trinidad and Tobago. You remember when Minister Young would have called a state of emergency? What was the statements made back then by the opposition? Something for you to think about. But you know what? This morning when the state of emergency was announced, I would have reached out to a good friend of mine's, a young man who makes himself very accurate and aware of what's going on, and he puts out release from time to time. And this morning I reached out to him and he said to me, yeah, I will come on your program and I would share the limited or the information that, and how what he thinks and how he feels about this state of emergency. Again, we listened to the commissioner. We heard what the commissioner had to say. Some of us are still unclear of what he really wants to say. Some of us are clear in our minds of what he said. But again, Trinidad and Tobago, I have a friend on the line, Mr. Gary Griffith, former leader of NTA, former commissioner of police, and former advisor and to prime ministers. And he would have put out a statements about what we're seeing happening right now in our country. And it's a privilege to have him on Constructive Talk this morning to share with us his views about this state of emergency that has been called by, or was he? Let me say, if he can correct me if I'm saying it wrongly, the commissioner of police advised the what do you call it? What do you call them again? Oh boy, I forget the name now. The National Security Council about these threats, and then he would have had a meeting with the Attorney General and the Prime Minister to call the state of emergency. Good morning, Mr. Griffith. Welcome to Constructive Talk. Tell me, what are your views about this state of emergency called or recommended by the Commissioner of Police?
Hi, good morning, Pastor, and to your many listeners. So, again, just to clarify, now it is the role of the Commissioner of Police, if he believes there's a clear and present danger, and he will want to recommend a state of emergency because he feels he's not capable, he doesn't have the type of tactical training to run the country and secure it, and he needs that. That is his right. He can do that. The problem exists here, however, is that this whole thing has been a mess. And my personal view is that I think it's the government that wanted the state of emergency, but they wanted it to look like as if the police decided to push that, which is fine. But if that was the case, what the commissioner has done, he has made a total mess of this whole thing. Strike one. You do not do a media release to the country to state a recommendation you are making for a state of emergency to the government. Suppose the government said no. Just think of that. How could you do a media release to the country, let the country and the criminals be aware that we do not have the capability to secure this country in the present situation of the laws we have? So we want to recommend to the government to call a state of emergency. He had no right to have done that. He blundered badly there. That is strike one. Strike two, he then stated that he went to meet with the Prime Minister and the Attorney General based on this matter. That is a breach of the chain of command. At no time he mentioned speaking to his line minister. As the Commissioner of Police, I could not just go and meet Keith Rowley whenever I want. That's not a partner. That is the chair of the National Security Council, and it is the right of the government. I think it's a brilliant strategy by Kamala Prasad Bissessar. Look, I want to reduce crime, I want to reduce murders, but I can't say it's me, so let me do like Shaggy, say it's not me, but say that the police recommended it. But this commissioner seems that in his exuberance to want to please the government, you're rushing there, do a press release to state that you want to recommend a state of emergency before the government even approves it. You do a press conference before the government even speaks to the country about it, and then you speak that you met the prime minister about this concern without speaking to your line minister. It shows that when you try to be involved in some type of clandestine situation, you will make blunders. It was totally uncalled for. My personal take has always been a state of emergency is not a crime fighting tool. And I think, however, as I said, the prime minister, brilliant job, because this was the same prime minister as leader of the opposition that criticized the previous government for doing the same thing. So the only reason that you could justify it is say that, hey, I played Shaggy, it wasn't me, is the police said to do it. So, and a more important point is the justification for the state of emergency. It is ridiculous. You claim there's a clear and present danger in the prisons of the. So you know it's an isolated environment. So because of prisoners leaking information and sending it out to put hits on people, you call a state of emergency? No. What you do is that you lock down the prisons. You do what I did as commissioner. We took those individuals, put them in a specific wing. We've isolated them. We put 3 layers of security, 3 police officers by 3 prison officers by 3 soldiers. So if a matchstick has to get into that area, it has to go through 3 lines of defense. So not all 3 could be on the take. That is how you deal with it. You don't call a state of emergency because of problems in the prison. And let me add, I drafted the Ministry of Justice specifically for this. The Ministry of Justice was to deal specifically with the prison system. I drafted it. I have the dates of when it was sent to Kamala Prasad Bissessar. You changed prisons now and sent it back under Homeland Security. So up to now, people don't know what the Ministry of Justice is about because the Minister of Justice hasn't said a word in 3 months. Because the Ministry of Justice doesn't know what to do. This is supposed to be dealt with entirely by the Ministry of Justice because you have a problem of persons putting hits on people from making calls from inside the prison. And that is how it is to be dealt with, not calling a state of emergency.
All right, but you said so much there, and I'm sure that there are listeners and viewers who you have now opened up a Pandora's box. One of the things you said is that you remember when first the former government called an SOE, the present government said that they did it too late. It's too late. Crime is a runaway horse, and you call a state of emergency now when it has gone awry. But let's be honest, Mr. Griffith, if we look at from since they called the state of emergency till when it ended, the murder toll was low. There were murders that were happening, yes. There were murders that were happening. I will not sit here and say that there wasn't any murders happening. There were murders that were taking place, and people were still saying, "But hey, we are not SOE, and there are murders still happening. Murder should not be happening if you're under SOE." But when you look at the murder toll from the time of the state of emergency to now, to then when it ended, the murder toll was low compared to times before prior. But the other thing was that when the SOE stopped, right, and there was a transition into from April 28th to now, we saw where there were about 80 something murders that would have taken place, but the murders that were taking place, people were like the young lady who they found yesterday, was it in a suitcase, chop up. There are other situations that just the kidnappings, you finding kidnappings happening periodically. You're hearing home invasions are still something that is taking place. And a question was asked to the commissioner at a morning show. And I personally, Mr. Griffith, found that his answer was something was. I personally found that something was wrong with that answer. I don't know if you heard what he said at a morning show when the announcer would have asked him about the crime situation, right? Coming out of the SOE. And he made a statement that made me wonder where is his head is at. Because remember, I'm looking at you now as the commissioner to somehow give me some kind of hope. But based on his answer, I was wondering if this gentleman really is thinking about what he's saying. Did you hear him?
What was it in particular? That was on CNC3, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, what in particular you're speaking about?
All right, so listen to what he said. I'll play it for you. All right? Listener?
Yeah.
Fact, as the statistics would show, that coming out of the state of emergency, there was what persons may term as an upsurge. We see it as a return to some sort of normal criminality.
You heard that?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I just want to find out exactly what you were speaking about. Yep, I recall well. Yeah.
The man said that people talking about that upsurge. He said, no, is that going back to a normal?
Normal, yeah. Well, you see, that is his standard. So he anticipates the fact that, listen, that is what is anticipated, as what's expected, so it's no big thing. It says a lot, but again, Trinidad and Tobago, it's going back to my concern about the selection process for a commissioner of police. The people who selected this man, not one of them have any training, qualification, or knowledge in law enforcement. Since it is up after my period, we had the Police Service Commission selecting persons to be commissioner of police. If it is that you have, say, for example, you have somebody who was a superintendent and he couldn't get in the top 10 in exams to be a senior soup, and then he applied to be a commissioner and he gets through. I'm not saying with this guy, but it leaves people to wonder, are we really doing a proper process in getting the best person selected to be commissioner of police? With Dwayne Gibbs and myself, you had Penn State, you had KPMG. Now you have the Police Service Commission, and they can easily be manipulated or it's just based on who somebody likes somebody or somebody close to somebody. But this man, this individual, it is 3 times now he has shown some certain decisions that have to be questioned. First was the removal of the security for a prime minister. My personal view, if you are prime minister, and after a month you're a prime minister, then there's no need for you to have a security detail. I would have removed it. But this man said, as a commissioner, he removed the security because he was instructed to do so by cabinet. Anywhere else in the world, he should have been fired immediately.
Thank you.
You cannot be involved in the safety and security of citizens of our country. He is responsible for the safety and security of every citizen, inclusive of Stuart Young, whether you like him or you don't like him. And for you to say that I moved the security because politicians in government told me so, it shows you are weak. It shows you shirked your responsibility as a commissioner of police. You are supposed to have done that on your own. They could recommend, they could say, hey, commissioner, I find this man as is a month he spent as a prime minister. Check, do your due diligence and see. So he will take the dog whistle, but he will do his check. But this man boasted that I listened to the instructions of cabinet and I operated immediately. And he did. Because what you did was disrespect, not to Stuart Young, but to the office of somebody who held the position of prime minister. You just pick up the security and the man had to take a maxi taxi to go home unless, thankfully, special branch felt sorry for him. That is low class. That is classless. That was one. Then 2, you jump up there to say, I defend and stand your ground. All of a sudden, now you're a politician. You're a commissioner of police. What you getting involved in a public debate that is going to take place between different arms in parliament? Because stating that you support stand your ground means that I am trying to say that I feel everybody should get a gun because I, as a commissioner, do have the ability to protect you.
And that is what he said. That is what he said. That is what he said.
I know. Yep, and now three strikes and he's out. You're coming there now, so excited to try to support the government. You do a press release to recommend a state of emergency, and then you're going to send it to the government. People not stupid. You're so excited to want to please the government. This Trinidad and Tobago is a very dangerous precedent we are setting here. It shows that this person seems to be not capable to understand the independence of the Office of Commissioner of Police.
Beautiful. And that is where I want that, and that what statement you made there is where I want to bring my listeners to that kind of understanding. That, hey, we need to watch this man We need to be diligent. We need to be diligent because somehow or the other, I'm being real with you. This SOE that is called, you may disagree with me, but this SOE sounds so much like what was called in 2011.
Okay, let me interrupt you here. Not sound similar. It was a template. If you look at what took place in 2011, it was the letter that was drafted initially. It was a cut and paste. The only difference, it doesn't have Reuben Richardson on it, and it had Guevara.
You see?
The only difference is that it didn't have 2011 and it has 2025. It was a cut and paste. There was a clear and present danger. There are criminal elements who want to try to affect national security. They want to put hits on persons who hold high office. It was a cut and paste letter of 2011.
Thank you very much. I thought that I was just imagining something, or I am just being, just being too critical. But I went back. I'm being real with you, I went back and listened to when Ms. Cessa read out the SOE in 2011. I went back and listened to this. You said something, and I want to say to you, you are on the ball, because back in 2011, Ms. Cessa made this statement. Back in 2011, the former Minister of National Security had a press conference at the police headquarters, where those same statements that the commissioner now is saying, he said back then.
Correct. Yeah, it's a cut and paste. The only difference now.
Hello? Okay.
Not to go in front in your exuberance to try to do what the government wants.
Right.
So they didn't run to do a press conference. It was Anand Ramlogan who
put Anand Ramlogan and the
meant to state that they made a recommendation to send to the government before the government agreed to send the request to the president for the proclamation.
So what they did was really flip the script.
Correct. And that is what Guevara has done practically, is to jump out of the starting blocks before the shot was fired.
Right.
And that is what has caused the problem here.
Yes.
At least Murphy and them, they sat back, they stayed in their crease, they let Anand Ramlogan make the statement.
Yeah.
It was based on a clear and present danger and his recommendation. But Guevara has so excited to please people, you run to do a media release to say that you recommended that to the government without the government even agreeing to it. And then two, you rush to do a press conference before the government. When you call a state of emergency is something that the state has done. It's not Guevara call a state of emergency, He could make a recommendation. You cannot call a state of emergency unless the Prime Minister, as the chair of the National Security Council, goes to the president. So Guevara couldn't have done it. So where you're rushing going, boss, you get your walk. You don't have to keep pleasing politicians like that.
Okay, that's it. That is it. And but the first time when I brought to your attention when he said that he took directions or directive from the cabinet. You know what disturbed me about that is, number one, you personally, as the commissioner, did not say, well, I did a risk assessment based on the advice or based on the direction or based on advice from the cabinet. I would have done a risk assessment and realized that, okay, at this point in time, we can remove the security from former Prime Minister Young. He didn't say that. He said, I did it based on directives from the what you call them? The cabinet. So, in other words, if the cabinet tell you lock up Gary Griffith.
Yeah, and that is a frightening development. And if you are a professional police service commission, he should have been reprimanded immediately.
Thank you.
Because it shows his inability to be able to be impartial and independent and adhere to his oath in office. And therein lies the problem.
Well, here now. Well, then we need to keep our eyes on him. We need to keep our eyes and ears on this commissioner.
Yeah, because as I said, it's 3 strikes. You went, and what made it worse, to show that this was done on a knee-jerk instruction from the politicians. What happens when your security detail is removed? You inform the principal in advance to let him know, listen, if you still want to have your own business, you could organize your privacy. But you pull it based on immediately. That alone shows that this was done based on an instruction rather than you being independent, impartial, and adhering to your oath in office. You tell the special branch, get away and leave him right there. What, to please the people who appointed you?
Yeah.
That is why it is we have to be very, and then again, as I said, he stand your ground, and now with this one. So this is 3 strikes. It seems that he doesn't care because he doesn't have the ability. You see, Mervyn Richardson and Stephen Williams, they were professionals. They understood, look, these politicians put me here, especially if we are acting. Because remember, Anand Ramlogan said that. He said, we love to keep commissioners acting so that we could always fire them whenever we want.
Right.
So Stephen and Mervyn what they do. But at the same time, they weren't puppets to the point that you will run to do a press conference before the government and the president proclaims a state of emergency and a press release, and then try to do a press conference before the government makes a statement. I mean, and then stating that you went to meet the prime minister. No, it seemed that the prime minister called you and you went there to see the prime minister. Because even if you really had a concern, you would contact your line minister. Roger Alexander is nowhere near in the conversation here. This was a prime minister feeling that myself and the AG want to call a state of emergency. Okay, and that's your right, But then when we call the commissioner meets with them. If you want to deal with it properly, you then say, look, I will send an official report to you, as what Stephen and Mervyn would have done. The prime minister will then call a press conference, and then Ramlogan will then say, based on the police deciding, that is how it should have been done, as it was done in 2011. Right. But not Mr. Man. He still wanted to show, hey, look at me. I am there to support you. You run and do a media release before the government even approves it, and then call a press conference before the government has a press conference, and then claim that you so big and bad, you as a commissioner could go and meet a prime minister without meeting your line minister, and you could bypass him to make a because you saw this of such concern. And again, let me state to Trinidad and Tobago, the concern that he had is in the prison. If the concern is in the prison, you put serious operational measures to deal with the prisons. You don't go and call a state of emergency because you are unable to stop prisoners from sending messages to put hits on people. That shows that you are unable to deal with the nation's security.
But then my next question to you, why wasn't the commissioner of prisons at the press conference?
Well, exactly, because you are the commissioner of police, call a press conference, and the commissioner of prison, who is supposed, because basically you're stating that he's unable to do his job, but let have him be there also. That is and that is why, if this was done properly, the chair of the National Security Council should have had the press conference, or the head of the Minister of Homeland Security and or the Attorney General, and then they will have the Minister, the Commissioner of Police and the Commissioner of Prisons there with them to justify their endorsement for the state of emergency based on their concerns, and they are pleased that the government has done that. That is how it was supposed to have been done. But instead, in the excitement of this individual who called an 8:30 a.m. press conference that started at 9:15, which was total unprofessionalism on his part. Don't even started that the man continues to fold up his sleeve as if it's a roti. That a roti has a better thing to fold. Be a commissioner. Be a little professional. And his actions.
You didn't see they jump out in the uniform that they themselves condemned you for.
Exactly. Yeah.
I watched that.
It is the hypocrisy of certain individuals. But again, this has been a number of unforced errors, more than we saw recently in Wimbledon. But the unforced errors, it does not augur well towards instilling public trust and confidence in the police service when these actions take place.
I want to thank you very much for taking my call. We want to keep in contact because this is a developing story. So we're going to keep in contact with you, and you're going to give us guidelines on how we see this thing panning out.
My pleasure. All the best.
Thank you very much. Right, Trinidad, you just heard, Mr. Gary Griffith and his take on this thing called a state of emergency. Right? I know this was a deja vu. I know something about this to me just sounded or looked familiar. But you see, some of us willing to roll over because we want to give them a chance now. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. But remember, they were there before. So they know. You understand? They know. But I am sorry, I'm sorry. at the end of the day, we need to hold these people accountable and stop allowing them to play us for fools. We are being played, and some of you not even realizing it. It's a playbook all over again. It's a playbook all over again. And how many of you are opening up your eyes or opening your eyes to realize and recognize that this is a playbook, a handbook that is happening all over again? Huh? How many of you? Some of you not even realizing that, and some of you like you don't even care. But I had a problem with this commissioner, and I told you all that. I told you all that this man is operating as though he, I am here to do the biddings of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't care what you say. I feel that way. I feel strongly that is how this thing is panning out with this gentleman. Right? That is how I feel. I feel that is how this thing is panning out with this gentleman. And I don't know about you, but I am going to keep my ears and eyes open. My ears and eyes open. So what I'm going to do, I want to play for you. I'm going to give you all a deja vu. Hey! Wago! Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're live on Constructive Talk.
All right, hold on. Hold on.
Right? So I want to give you all some deja vu. You all need to be reminded, because as a nation, we just forget. And it is our duty, well, I have to say, as a blogger now, you understand, to remind you all, the rain is falling in San Fernando. So if you're hearing something like, it's rain falling in South. Nice rain falling now. So, we're in a state of emergency. The commissioner said you can still go and enjoy yourself on the avenue. You can still have your little family lime. You can still do whatever you was planning to do over the weekend. All right? But I want to play something for you guys. Take a listen to this. Will you remember this?
Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Well, I welcome you here this afternoon and thank you for coming so that I can share with the national community what this state of emergency, this limited state of emergency entails. First of all, I wish to say to the national community that this is intended to assist us in the fight against crime. Accordingly, there may be some areas of discomfort that would be experienced by our citizens, but please know it is in an effort not only to ensure that you are safer in Trinidad and Tobago, but to ensure that we eliminate the elements of crime and criminal activity in our midst. You are aware that as of midnight last night, the state of emergency came into effect as announced by the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday afternoon. As such, there are certain measures that have been put in place to ensure the safety of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You are aware as well that there's a limited state of emergency, which means it is being exercised in specific areas. These areas include Port of Spain, San Fernando, Chaguanas, Diego Martin, Arima, and the Samoa-Laventil area. These areas, the demarcation of these areas are clearly spelled out, and it is in accordance with the communities that have been organized by the local government in respect of the municipalities. The identification of these areas and the borders of these areas are identified in a document that you will have access to later on today. Further, there is some concern with respect to the migration of the criminal elements into other areas. That as well has been taken care of. As you are aware, because of our limited state of emergency, we now have the use of the military to assist the police, and in so doing, they themselves have been given, out of this state of emergency, they have been given certain powers to interact not only with
this was the former minister of
safety and security.
National Security. What's his name again, Juliet?
Our objective,
Juliet, what was his name?
Primarily to eliminate crime.
What was his name, Juliet?
I am ashamed. Not John, not Sandy.
I forget the man name. I forget the man name. But he, as a minister, I had Gary Griffith on the line just now. And Gary Griffith is saying that if it's a state of emergency, the state supposed to have a press conference with the police to call the state of emergency. Not the police commissioner. Huh?
Pick up in Google. Because that is one of my key points I was about to make. Because no police commissioner could sanction no state of emergency. What he can do is advise the National Security Council, which he said he did. And having done that, it was the responsibility of the executive to come with the police commissioner and make a statement to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. But as it stands, and I agree with former Commissioner Gary Griffith, these are my words, however, that they throw the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Gavaro, under the bus and make him the fall guy.
So listen to this. So I just played for you all back in 2011, the Minister of National Security at a press conference telling the nation, one, why they call a limited state of emergency, the areas they call limited state of emergency. But I want you to hear who is the next person who spoke after the minister. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As it relates to the passes that are supposed to be issued, and if I may refer to it as permits, citizens can apply to the police station nearest to where they reside.
So you're hearing that?
From those police stations, we
that is Stephen Williams, Juliet,
passes.
and listeners.
Right.
Stephen Williams spoke after.
Issued for persons who would be required.
So
the National Security Minister or the Homeland Security Minister, which is Mr. Roger Alexander, should have been present at the press conference to give the government's perspective on the state of emergency. But rather than do that, they put the commissioner out there and make it now appear to the naked eye and to the population that the commissioner of police is a puppet or a rubber stamp. That is the perception now.
Well, wait.
Where was the executive? Where was the executive, which is the government of Trinidad and Tobago, in all of this?
Well, wait.
There was a no-show.
Who you think talk? Who you think talk after Stephen Williams? Who you feel was the next voice after Stephen Williams? So you had the minister.
Mr. Hines?
Wait. You had the minister. You had Stephen Williams.
Hines, or was it Mr. Hines?
No, we're talking about 2011. That can be Mr. Hines.
Oh, 2011, yes. Go ahead.
I'm talking about 2011, when Kamala Day would have called the state of emergency. No.
Was it the Prime Minister?
No.
Who was it?
Listen who it was. Listen who it was.
Minister, can you again go over the expanded powers?
Listen to this.
In terms of what will
Listen,
regarding the first 24-hour arrest without a warrant.
Let me say good afternoon to those of you joining me on YouTube and on Facebook.
Apprehension of that person for the first.
You're joining a special edition of
lastly,
Constructive Talk.
Honorable Attorney General.
Yeah, who? The Attorney
Legal
General.
authority.
Thank you. Any citizen who is arrested and they can be detained for a period of up to 24 hours in the first instance. Thereafter, a magistrate or a police officer from the rank of assistant superintendent and above has the power to authorize a further period of detention not exceeding 7 days in total. So that would be the extent of the period of detention under the emergency powers regulations. Of course, we also have it available in our armory, the Anti-Gang Act, so that if there is evidence forthcoming that can lead to a charge under the Anti-Gang Act or suspicion that you were committing an offense under the Anti-Gang Act, that could in fact lead to a further period of detention if necessary.
And then the expanded powers, certain suspects.
Listen,
No bail. Well, the question of bail doesn't arise on the detention period. And if you're charged for offenses that rise under the regulations, there is no bail as well. But mind you, within that period of 7 days, you do in fact there's a tribunal that will be appointed by the Honorable Chief Justice. Minister of National Security and myself, we are going to meet with the Honorable Chief Justice today, and I suspect that is one of the matters which we will be addressing. But the Honorable Chief Justice is charged with the responsibility to set up a tribunal so that anyone who is detained, they have the right to make a representation to that tribunal, and the tribunal will expeditiously hear and determine their grievance and their dispute, as it were.
They have been
So Juliet, what I want you to bear in mind, so in the conversation with Mr. Griffith, Mr. Gary Griffith would have pointed out several things. He said this SOE that the UNC is using is a copy and paste from 2011.
Yes, agreed.
So,
Agreed.
if it's a copy and paste from 2011, this is me talking in a wide vacuum, you know. If it's a copy and paste from 2011, the ID card issue, walk with your ID card so that you could prove that you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. 1. 2, Juliet, can we see people being arrested? Juliet, under the SOE, the former SOE with Minister Young, didn't we see where Pamela Elder was representing some persons who were under house arrest? Hey, Juliet? Hello?
Themselves and peer from behind burglar-proof bars as if they are imprisoned in their own homes while bandits roam the streets freely. The time has come for action. These are desperate times because we sense and identify with the desperation of the population. And that is why we have taken this decision to act firmly. You may recall that the Ken Gordon Committee, which was commissioned and established under the former administration in May of 2003, tendered a report and submitted as one of its main recommendations a declaration of a limited state of emergency. That, in July of 2005, was rejected by the then government. And that rejection came on the heels of the bombing in Port of Spain. It came on the heel of rampant and astronomically climbing murder rate. And it came on the heels of what was then 6 kidnappings for ransom in 1 week. And in that scenario, the then government said that they had crime-fighting strategies in place, which included the plan from Professor Matrosky, the blimp, and certain other measures. We feel as a government we have a duty and a responsibility to the citizens of this country to guarantee their safety and protect them. Your fundamental human rights and freedoms mean precious little if at the end of the day, life, limb, and property cannot be guaranteed and protected by the state. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to reassure law-abiding citizens, you have nothing to fear. You are not the target of this state of emergency. And indeed, the police and the army, they will adopt a practical, common sense approach, and there will be proper exercise of discretion in appropriate cases. So you have nothing to fear.
Juliet, we saw that.
I want to urge citizens who may have information about criminal activity.
If my memory serves me correct, and what I just listened on a news item played of Guerrero speaking at the press conference, that the citizens of the country have nothing to worry about. This state of emergency is not against you or not about you. That is what Guerrero now said there. And I am at ends trying to figure out how could the commissioner of police say to the people that there was a reign of terror, but then in the same breath he tells citizens there are nothing to worry about. How you looking now use strong words, strong language as a reign of terror on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and then in the same breath tell me we don't have nothing to worry about? Notwithstanding a reign of terror, but there is no curfew, and you're talking about people could go and drink and lime and party as normal. Come on, all they make up all their mind. Commissioner Guerrero, what all they really doing, or what really, what all they serious about the situation that exists, or this is some kind of fly-by-night something that all they dealing with? Because they can't be telling me there's a reign of terror and then tell me about going and liming and drinking in bar and all it was nothing to worry about. Girl, let me tell you something. At the end of the day, yellow is the code. At the end of the day, yellow is the code. You understand? Let the people have a free reign to run the government and to do things the way they believe would be in the best interest of the population. But I can tell you, at this point, with just over 3 months or close to 3 months, because I'm not keeping track, it's not looking good.
But listen to this. Listen to this. While I hear you and I accept what you're saying, but as I said to Mr. Gary Griffith a while ago, Juliet, when Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young called the state of emergency, when you looked at the time frame from then to now, the murder toll went down. The UNC looked at that, Juliet. They recognized that. They said to themselves, hey, that state of emergency that Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young called, it worked. It worked because the murder toll was 200 and something or less in that space of time. Right? Mm-hmm. When they came into office, the state of emergency ended. When they came into office, right? From the time they came in, the 2 months or less, the murder toll went up to 80-something persons being murdered. And people started to say, but wait now, Ole said that you all were going to deal with crime. You all did not have a plan to deal with it. Ole had so much symposium, so much crime symposium where people come up. Johnny Abraham, all of them came and shared their views, and we are in this. We still in the same position.
You mentioned that. I am happy that you mentioned that, because in the said press conference today, the words URP and state contracts was mentioned. I think CPAP was mentioned as well, and to my mind, to give the impression that it is one particular group of people in this country who are perpetrating the crime. Because I jump off of the press conference from the time I hear Commissioner Guerrero start to talk BS about URP and CPEP and they're taking the money to buy guns. And again, we're going down the same road that the people who that they have targeted as being the one committing crime in this country are people of a particular demographic. People of a particular demographic. And I say, you see me and this BS today with this commissioner of police who, because of his stand-alone position today at a press conference, I say, Juliet, come off at the press conference. You don't want to hear no more of that commissioner of police. So I'm happy that you say that, because at the meetings, the public meeting, the crime symposiums that they were having, I distinctly remember a former top-ranking police officer and others were saying that it's a particular hue of people that going into people's homes and committing the home invasions. And very interestingly, the reporter asked Guerrero today, with respect to the sunset clause or whatever you just call it, the time, regarding time and so forth. And he said that that was not in his under his purview. So again, Mr. Griffith was completely right. There are things within the state of the emergency that the police commissioner would not be able to treat with, and we would need the Attorney General from a legal perspective and as the lawyer for the state, and we would need the National Security Minister to give us the perspective of the executive, which is the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Juliet.
But them taking people for fools.
Thank you.
And them clonging the people at Trinidad and Tobago.
Let me tell you something. Mr. Griffith said 3 strikes and it's supposed to be out as the commissioner. 3 strikes. Where is the service commission? Where are they? Where is the police commission? Because his first strike was when he said that he took advice from the cabinet to take away the security.
That was the first strike. You don't take advice from the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago.
Because if the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago tell you go after Google or go after Juliet or go after Mr. Griffith, you will do it.
Remember,
that's 1. 2. His second strike was when the man sat down on that interview. And he said that he agrees with the government on the standing ground laws. Number 1. Number 2, and then it's still in number 2, he also said on that interview that crime, he made a statement about crime, and they said that after the state of emergency, we are realizing that there's a surge and there's an uprising. He said it is going back to its normality. He said it's going back to normality. Then after that, no, you come and you make this out. Now he had to go. He have to go.
I think so. Because it was the same UNC during the period of Gary Griffith as Commissioner of Police that took the government to task, particularly Dr. Rowley and the President of Trinidad and Tobago, claiming collusion and conspiracy in matters involving the Commissioner of Police and the Police Service Commission, and where they were saying that there was what it was calling things separation of powers, right? So how now we can have a Commissioner of Police admitting to the media and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that he took instructions from the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago? And then you come now on your media conference and you're throwing CPEP and URP workers and state contracts. And then when I hear that, I starting to look at the situation with respect to the 20,000 and the 10,000 that was fired. And I getting the impression as a citizen and as a listener of the press conference that they're trying to malign or to rope in URP people and CPEP people and state contract people as the ones who committing the crime because the government take away the work. PS. from that commissioner of police. We're not taking no rubbish from these people.
But Juliet,
because they were right, Google. They went around the country on numerous occasions on a crime symposium. So it would appear to the average citizen that they had their plan before they come into government. Now you come into government, what did you do? You gave us a commissioner of police who doesn't seem to be too bright insofar as academics is concerned. You gave us a commissioner of police who, based on his background, now remember this is not a commissioner of police, like let's say Barry Padarat or Saddam Hussein or Rudal Munilal. This is a commissioner of police that came in directly from the police service, from active duty in the police service at the executive level of the police service. So it means that when he's coming in there, apart from even having a plan, he's coming there with experience. So he is ready to roll out and to do his job. But clearly, based on what we have seen so far, and according to the Honorable Member of Parliament Faruqa Marvin Gonzalez, this is not beyond the tape. This is not no arm wrestling match. This is not no video in no gym. This is not crime watch. This is serious business involving the national security of the country. And you as an experienced member of the TTPS, belonging to the executive of the TTPS, came straight out of the TTPS and into active politics, should be able to stand up in a parliament and speak on security matters with confidence. But you dropped the ball. You dropped the ball. Google, look at you, Google. What training you have, Google, in radio and talk show and commentary? What qualifications you have in that? But you know what? You got a lot of experience from being on the job. You telling me, citizens must tell me that Gay Alexander a chance. Get him man a rest, get him man some time, let him learn. You telling me I must accept that as a citizen and knowing very well the kind of pressure that the UNC put on the last administration over crime in this country, and we must settle for less than nothing with Alexander. Time for Alexander to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We want to take some calls, Juliet.
Google, I have to go too, not only Alexander, but I have to leave home now. So
we're taking some calls. We're taking your calls, Trinidad and Tobago. All right? We're taking your calls. 464-7003. 464-7003. 464-7. I'm hearing that the Attorney General is having a press conference as we speak. All right? I'm hearing that the Attorney General is having a press conference as we speak. So let's see what do you think the Attorney General is saying.
Police service. Did this action come from one particular thing that the police service brought to you? Because you mentioned the homicide rate so far, 200 and something. Or is it a decision that Cabinet made based on all of these murders that are happening, based on we are seeing a resurgence in violent crime, we'd like a state of emergency? Or was it one particular thing that was the catalyst for it?
Well, the report from the intelligence services yesterday gave us no choice. The state of emergency was something that as a state of emergency is a measure that the Prime Minister has advocated for some time. And that was a part of a continuing discussion with respect to treating with the unacceptable levels of crime. It was in that context that I spoke to the levels of homicide in Trinidad and Tobago.
So the information, as we could say, is the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of bringing this action.
I would go further to say that was a precursor.
Okay. Now, this has caused some unease in the public, as you'd anticipate. Some people asking how long the SOE will last. I know that it can initially last for about 15 days, and then Parliament could extend it for about 3 months. This morning, the Commissioner said it's a fluid situation. What can you tell us in terms of how long do you all intend for this SOE to continue?
It will continue for as long as the security forces tell us that they need the additional legislative support.
Last time an SOE was called, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar criticized Dr. Rowley for not attending the press briefing when that was announced to the public. So it's only fair to ask why the Prime Minister's head of the National Security Council is not here and why we haven't really heard from her for the day as yet.
Well, the Prime Minister is about to put out a release, and she's been commanding her troops throughout the night. I'm not sure that she has slept for 2 days.
Okay. Will there be a press briefing later with her, or just the release?
I'm not sure about a press briefing. I would advise her against it. We've had 2 now for the day.
Yeah, and before I pass it on, also in December 2024, Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar called the last SOE a shameless political gimmick in the context of a high crime rate. And as you said, we've seen a resurgence of violent crime lately. What would you say to that same criticism now?
Well, I mean, it's entirely misfounded. As a lawyer, everything requires a context. We had a situation yesterday. We could not ignore that. The last state of emergency was prompted by, I'm not sure, I hate to say this, but it was prompted by nothing. And I don't wish to politicize this, but I think the Prime Minister at the time was I'm not sure if he was playing golf or if he was attending a party or something like that. I could assure you that the Prime Minister was on the phone with me after midnight last night and several times during the course of the early morning. And when I spoke to her less than 2 hours ago, she had not slept for at least 1 night and possibly 2. I asked her to go and sleep.
Good afternoon, Mr. Attorney General. Urvashi from TV6. Of course, you did mention to us that this plot is in the advanced stages of execution involving violent attacks targeting citizens and national institutions. Can you say if this is this plot involves a mass attack?
I would prefer the Commissioner of Police to deal with the operational issues, but the intelligence reports were troubling in the extreme. This was not 2 or 3 persons engaged in activity. This is a group of highly motivated, I think the Commissioner referred to a syndicate of gangs. That's all that I like to stick to his language.
Of course, from the layman's perspective, from the regular citizen's perspective, should we avoid mass gatherings?
I would direct that question to the Commissioner of Police. It's not, the regulations themselves do not anticipate that.
Okay, of course, you did mention the murder rate being at 213. We are just about mid-year. Could we, extrapolate that figure? It'll take us to just beyond 400, a large amount of murders for the year 2025. The Commissioner has just taken his seat, and of course the government, you all have just taken your seat. There are some who are suggesting, in the same vein of the previous opposition of the UNC describing the SOE as a shameless political gimmick. Some are suggesting that the SOE is being used as a mechanism to cosmetically suppress the murder rate without dealing with the true causes of crime?
Well, I mean, some, as you described them, would be ignorant to the fact that yesterday the National Security Council and the Prime Minister and I were briefed on what I would describe to be an existential threat to the state. So those persons would clearly be operating under serious misapprehension of the facts.
And just two more quick questions from me. As it relates to correctional facilities being seen as the headquarters for these operations or the syndicates as mentioned, the use of cellular phones was also mentioned. Will we see a swooping down on that? And we also know that when that is done, when you take away that liberty for those in correctional facilities to communicate with their families outside, the repercussion is that prisons officers are targeted. How are we dealing with that?
Again, that's an operational issue. We have thought about it. These gangs are so sophisticated that they've planned for an eventuality similar to what has happened this morning. They have made contingency plans. We've had to get ahead of those contingency plans. So again, that's an operational issue. The commissioner is the best person to treat with that matter.
And finally, from me, we can expect Parliament to be sitting within the next 15 days?
It's a matter for the Prime Minister. If this goes on for beyond the time prescribed in the Constitution, there would be a need for the Parliament to extend the time.
Mr. Attorney General Joey Bartlett with Newsday. With respect to the National Security Council meeting yesterday, is there a specific reason the Homeland Security Minister was absent?
The Homeland Security Minister was present in the National Security Council meeting yesterday, to the best of my recollection.
And additionally, with respect to the intelligence operation that led to the SOE, did the government or our security services liaise with any international bodies, any from the US, UK to comprise this investigation, this report?
Those are operational issues best directed to the Commissioner of Police. What I can say is that we maintain very close links with our international partners, and those are very fruitful links.
Mr. Attorney General, Darren Bahon from the Newsday as well. In light of the issues of corruption in the police service and the need for vetted units, how many officers from vetted units will be trusted to deal with these, as you call it, a existential threat to the country? And how do you plan to, well, not you, but how does the government deal with that leakage from police officers, prison officers, and others in the national security apparatus?
The Commissioner of Police, who has been recently put in office, is aware of the fact that there are a number of allegations with respect to corrupt officers in his charge. He's also aware of the existence within the service of vetted units and the difficulties that we have had here, given rise to this situation of having matters take place within the prison because of prison officers who have not perhaps done their duty to country. I'm told that he has taken particular care in terms of ensuring that his units, the units that are involved in interdiction and the units which are involved going forward in holding these highly dangerous persons, that those units are properly vetted.
intensity of the threat, which we spoke about, targeted assassinations, including members of the judiciary and the office of the DPP. Can this be described as a threat to destabilize the country?
I prefer not to go further than I have gone in terms of my prepared statement. I do not wish to speculate. The commissioner has given a statement as well. All that I can say is that the intelligence information that led to our actions over the past 12 hours, that information was solid.
So as we're just 2 weeks away from the 35th anniversary of the 1998 attempted coup, and of course, every time there's an anniversary of the coup, there are always coup jitters.
There are always
coup jitters of elements trying to destabilize the country or the government or institutions. Those institutions that we mentioned, the judiciary, the office of the DPP, are critical in the criminal justice system. So while you may not describe it as a threat to destabilize the country, at what level of threat would you put it in terms of 1 to 5?
Again, that's an operational question. You'll have to pose that question to the Commissioner of Police. At our level, the level of representatives, the people's representatives, we were left with no choice, faced with information, credible information, that persons involved in the administration of justice and others were to be assassinated given certain contingencies. We were left with no choice but to take the most dramatic action that is possible under the Constitution. We have done that. We make no apologies for it. We have a duty to all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, whether they voted for us or not, to keep them safe and to protect against precisely that which took place in 1990. It will not happen on our watch. One more question.
Finally, from me, sir. In 2011, under the former People's Partnership government, there was a state of emergency where approximately 5,000 young men were arrested and detained under the SOE. Many of them were not charged eventually based on the fact that the police never brought any evidence to support their detentions for prolonged periods. And many of them would have benefited from handsome payouts from the Office of the Attorney General when they brought legal action. What assurance can you give now that a similar scenario would not play out?
Well, I was not the Attorney General at the time. I'm very stingy in terms of the payments which I am required to make or those which I might be required to make in the future. I have a high degree of confidence in the actions of the police service at this time. I believe that one learns from one's mistakes and that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated today.
Mr. Attorney General,
last question.
Yeah, you said
Sorry, Akash, one quick question. The public usually, when an SOE is called, assume is a last resort to some extent by any government. What assurance, if any, you could give the public that the government do have control over the situation right now and that all is being done so to instill confidence in the government?
Well, I mean, the fact that I am here speaking to you this morning and that half of the building has not been destroyed by a rocket launcher should tell you that we have succeeded in disrupting a plan. We We stand before you as representatives of people. We are being as open as is possible, given the fact that a lot of this is embargoed from release by, you protect individuals, human intelligence, as you have intercept intelligence, but you have human intelligence as well. But I can say with certainty that we're on top of things as of now.
AG, just one more thing now. Something you said to me earlier. You said the last SOE was called for nothing, inferring the president greenlighted an SOE based on nothing, as you said. Now, the same president approved this one, but I remember the then PNM government said they also received troubling information from the police service, and that's why it was necessary to call a state of emergency. And you are essentially saying the same thing. So how can you deem that a nothing SOE, but this one a legit SOE?
I was hoping that you would ask that question, Akash. If you have a state, the reason is this: if you have a state of emergency which carries with it all the correct words to the president has to make the declaration. But sometimes actions speak louder than words. So if at the very time you tell the president to act, to declare a state of emergency, you are on record somewhere else, perhaps not in Trinidad, perhaps not doing nothing remotely connected with security, maybe even at a party. I'm just saying, if that happened, that belies the fact that you are taking things seriously. So I'm sorry, but I stand by what I said. It was based on the actions of a prime minister who was not asleep at the wheel, but elsewhere, and having fun, while the rest of his cabinet might have been facing you. My prime minister is not having fun. She's not on a golf course. She's not at a party. She's at her house commanding her troops, including me.
And you made reference. Your life is at threat? That was actually what I was going to ask. Your life is at threat?
My life, I am not bothered by things like that. So, thank you.
Is the AG's office being targeted? You mentioned the rocket launcher just now and the fact that the building is still here.
Thank you, Ika.
Okay, you've just been looking at...
We real boy. We serious as a nation. You listen to that, man? You all listen to that Attorney General. Are happy with that? The man talking like if he's sleeping. He not even behaving as though he in a real press conference. He talking nonsense about the press conference with what remember, and Akash, and they asked the right question. Akash asked him, how could you say when Dr. Rowley they call a state of emergency, the nonsense you said, and then you bring in the same accusation again, and now you're talking about your standby where you say, let me tell you something, I don't know about Ole, you know. But Ole we really out for a ride, you know. We out for a serious ride with them, you know. You listen to that, man? Are we serious? Wow. I'm sorry, you know. But John Jeremy, I don't know what Patrick Manning saw in you. If that is the John Jeremy back in Patrick Manning time, my God, that is why the airport cases take so long. I now understand why the airport case took so long. Wow, Trinidad and Tobago, only wake up. Only listen to that, Attorney General. Up to now, they would have condemned Dr. Rowley for not being at the press conference with Stuart Young. Miss Cecil is nowhere to be found now. And they're making excuses and saying, she is asleep for 2 days. You lie! Look. Hello, good evening. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I just waste half hour of my life. Listen to that crap. You man tell she go and sleep, you know. He say go and sleep.
He tell she go and sleep. He tell she go and sleep.
That Richard Pryor come back over. There's a comedy festival. I tell she go and sleep. What?
Yeah. 2 days now she is asleep.
Yeah.
Lie. Because the commissioner of police did not say that.
What do you say here in here, boy? Go and sleep.
Go and sleep. Yeah, go and sleep is right. There's something wrong with we, boy. We accepting this nonsense.
Nah, boy. Something, and the man talking. He okay?
I don't think so. And let me tell you something. You hear, he don't know if Dr. Oli was on a golf course or if he was in a party.
Yeah.
But you want to give him about liberty to talk crap.
The man gone, the man retired, relax yourself, but you still told the man in that for that boy. I waste half an hour so long. I could no much thing I can do. I can go and plant some lime tree or some kind of thing. It might have profit me better than listening to that crap.
Boy, let me go and get some root here. Check me and you go and get some bust up shot, yes?
Alright. I ain't no root. I don't think to be carried. Sorry.
Yeah, but I want to go for a bust up shot. Why you being
but go ahead, who holding you back? Proceed.
Well, I am asking for your assistance.
Oh, you're asking? Oh. I think about it. I'm gonna do something first and then I'll check you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, there's something wrong with you now. Call me now. You all heard the Attorney General? Well, nah, boy. Hello, good evening. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. I just listened to the Attorney General there.
Yeah.
Lambasting the last administration.
For calling the SOE.
But for calling the SOE. But let's look at the last SOE that was called by the last administration. You know this name, Randall Hector? The attorney that was shot after he
Oh yes! Oh my goodness!
Right? You remember that person?
Yes, that was because he's a part of the SSA.
He was shot, right? The day after the SOE was called. If you could recall, Randall Hector was representing a gang leader, right? Was defending a gang leader for the state, a man who had incredible information. This man, the gang leader, was also shot outside the Bessel Street after signing the books.
Shot at, yes, he was shot at.
Right. So when the government at the time said they had information, there was reprisal killings, right? They knew why they called the SOE at the time. And they were said these killings, they got information that high-powered rifles had entered the country as well.
Isn't that caller why they arrested Ola Christopher?
I'm not saying any comment on that.
All right.
Right? I have no comment on that. But you have to put the bits and pieces together. Be wise. As you keep saying to us just now, Trinidadians only wake up. We know, Pastor, we know. Trinidadians know, but we playing. I don't want to say the word. But I'm listening to the police commissioner today, right? He and all give out a press release before his press conference. He said in his press release that there's a certain individual or certain people inside the prison who using encrypted phones to make certain decisions outside. That is to execute certain people. The only person I know who in a jail so long, sitting down comfortably, is Ranjiv Ali. Ranjiv Ali, just this year, March the 5th, get permission to go to the High Court to ask about the preliminary inquiry about the case of Dana Sital. But we ain't talking these things.
No.
We ain't talking these things. Ranjiv Ali is the man who get a contract to shoot a radio announcer. Hey. Ranjiv Ali was involved in live sport. And if you read the press release, they said they had to move certain people last night from maximum prison cells. It's there. There in the police press release, I scream, grab it, I read it. I don't know if you want me to read it for you now on the show.
Read it out.
I have it there. I have it here. Right?
Yeah.
Let me express myself. Let me just get it, pull it up. Right. The Commissioner of Police, Alistair Govero, has formally recommended to the government of Trinidad and Tobago a declaration of a state of emergency. Intelligence revealed that incarcerated individuals are actively leveraging internal and external networks to plan, execute attacks on key figures within the national security and the justice sector. Right? Also, these attacks will include people of the Director of Public Prosecution and members of the judiciary. Right? That is one. I want to say something. So this person they're talking about, what they have uncovered is that they also have fundings for operations derived from a range of violent as well organized criminal activities, including high-value robberies, armed home invasions, extortion, kidnapping, and infiltration of state-funded contracts and programs. This important thing here, right? This is a press release from the police, you know. They're saying this part here, an infiltration of state-funded contracts and programs. I thought all them things stopped, and they just
close down CPEP. They restructuring URP.
But wait, but do you know there are contracts right now given out to certain CPEP people? Really? Is this the funded? Yes. Yes, it is. This I'm not talking here, say this is on it came up on the Express. Contracts are given out slowly but surely. Remember they were telling us, the government telling us, don't worry, you'll get back your work. But who are the contractors?
Wow.
Who are the contractors? You have to put this thing into bits and pieces. Mr. Pastor Google, before I go, the last thing I wanted to call in last night and remind you something. You had an interview with a man named Kingsley on your former talk show on the radio station. I ain't going to call no name and thing. I listened to a clipping of that thing again. You know, Kingsley kind of gave a heads up on what was going on. The clipping is from May the 23rd of 2024. Kingsley told you that when these people come back in power, and he was listening, you know, he was dressed in white, and you're listening. He told you when they come back in power, they're going to get a new commissioner, the police commissioner, to do their bidding. They're going to get a attorney general to do their business. And what they want to do is go after the president, to remove the president, to change the constitution so that they now will get all the charges dropped. As people like Monilal, all of the UNC members who have charges against them, they want to drop all them charges. That is what they're going to do. Could it be true? Is this what we're witnessing? Is this the catalyst of this to happen? Is it going to happen now? We have to be alert. The only person I could say could save us this is the Almighty from above. That is the only man right now who could save Trinidad and Tobago right now. And if we band together and we do the work like what Dr. Rowley did for the country in his time of opposition, if we had to do that again, when the bell ring, we all have to do that work again. Because we have to save this nation. We nation in trouble. We nation in trouble. Have a good day, Pastor. Enjoy your weekend. God bless.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very, very much. Wow. 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 He said a mouthful, but all what he said was relevant and true. And that's the young people that we have listening to Constructive Talk. Right? That's the young people, the youth we have listening to Constructive Talk, sharing their insightful and relevant information that is truthful. That is truthful. All right, I'll take about 2 more calls before it's a developing story. It is a developing story. So we're going to take some more calls. We'll take this call. Hello, good evening. Good afternoon. I think good evening. Our custom being on an evening time. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pastor Google. Dandy here. How's everything?
I'm good. How are you going?
I just have some. I'm good. I have a real issue with that statement this Attorney General made just now that he don't know if Rowley was either playing golf or if he was in a set, but he knows for sure that Miss Bethesda was worried and it's been 2 days or she didn't sleep. I find that was a very ridiculous, out of time and disrespectful statement to make it seem like the last 10 years Dr. Rowley was there. All he did was play golf and set. That is exactly what he tried to allude to.
Just now. Mm-hmm. The commissioner of police said that he got the information yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, he said he got the information late yesterday. And he called a quick meeting with the authorities, right? Yesterday, how it reached the 2 days she ain't sleep? If it's yesterday, they find out the information.
But Professor Google, we all know why she has slept for 2 days, and it have nothing to do with that this revelation. We know why she has slept for 2 days. A lot of goose was probably flying around the Pink Palace. It have nothing to do with this. But I just want John Jeremy to know, as a former PNM, he is very disrespectful. Very, very disrespectful to say that is why Dr. Rowley wasn't in the press conference. He was either playing golf or in effect, because that is all the PNM government was good for. PNM didn't do nothing in the last 10 years but play golf and set. Very, very disrespectful. That is all I have to say before I get done. Let me don't say anymore.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Well, last caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. Good
afternoon, Pastor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pastor.
Good afternoon.
Let me talk to my former Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Keith Mr. Rowley. We who care about the nation just like you will like you to come, make a press conference and put all these lying issues to rest. And we know you're capable of doing it. Shut down these people.
What lying issues? What lying issues is that?
These people lying on the former Prime Minister.
In what way?
Oh, he did this, he did that. How he, for example, use a little thing there concerning this gentleman that even use words like, oh, where was he? Probably was playing golf.
Yeah, but Dr. Rowley, Dr. Rowley, why you had time to answer that is true. That's everybody knew that, but Dr. Rowley to come from wherever, if you had to come out from America, wherever, to do a press conference to answer John Jeremy. So you on vacation with your wife in Paris. Listen to this. Dr. Rowley is in vacation. Listen to me. Dr. Rowley is quite in Paris. So you had to leave Paris to come to answer John Jeremy?
No, that is not what is being said here. I understand what you're saying. You're quite right. That is not what is being said here. But one of these days, when he is free, he needs to put them.
He's not going to do that. And I will advise him not to do that. That's giving them too much time. We could handle them. We could handle them. Why Dr. Rowley had to answer them? We the citizens, could answer them.
All right. I agree with all that. But I just fed up at them just calling the man name,
We could deal with them. Look, the young lady called just now and she deal with them. Look, the young man who called before her, deal with them. We could deal with them.
Yes,
we have over 300 and something people we have 300 and something people alive that wasn't even supposed to happen today. That's just
to tell wonderful. You.
All right.
I just need the truth to be plastered in them. That is what happening here. They can't take the truth. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much. When Dr. Rowley and they call the press conference, when Dr. Rowley and them call the state of emergency, what did the Law Association, Mr. John Jeremy, what did the Law Association have to say?
The Prime Minister's announcement of a state of emergency has received the support of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. The TNT Chamber says it will always seek to act in the best interest of society. It added that the sobering reality of our current situation is in part due to weak enforcement of restrictions, porous borders, and irresponsible behavior of the non-compliant. The Chamber says it looks forward to reviewing the regulations under the state of emergency, recognizing that citizens' rights must be protected and approved businesses should be allowed to operate under the terms of the SOE.
And that, do you see that there? Was the Law Association lending their support when Dr. Rowley and Minister Young had called the SOE. So what Attorney General John Jeremy talking? Were he talking? And we have to sit down and listen to this man. Half an hour. Well, I think I'm gonna get something to eat, yes. You see this? This ain't healthy. This ain't healthy at all. We're not serious. We're not serious. The proper protocols were not followed. We heard Mr. Gary Griffith call in and he said that the proper protocols were not followed. If there was supposed to be a press conference, there was supposed to be the Minister of Homeland Security, the Commissioner of Police, the Commissioner of Prisons. Also, there was supposed to be the Attorney General. They having their press conferences in separate spurs. We serious? We serious? But that's what we want. That's what we accept. And the Attorney General disrespect you as a nation, making excuse for the Prime Minister and saying that she's sleepy. Yeah, wake her up when the drama finish. Basically, that's what it is. Wake me up when it's all over. Wake up at Trinidad and Tobago. Wake up. Wake the hell up. Because you see this? Come on. Come on. Could never be serious. Could never be serious, John Jeremy. Could never be serious. But I now understand, honestly, why the airport case, why it is the way it is. I don't understand. So you know what? Let me go and get something to eat, Right? Let me go and get something to eat. Somebody said, Pastor, they do get what? They do get under your skin. He has a beef with Dr. Rowley. Dr. Rowley, remember who you are? Okay. I hear you. I hear you. I personally just find that we should not just sit silently and quietly and allow people to disrespect us. That's just me. Come on. You see that disrespect? I think we need to call them out on it. Right? We need to call people out on their disrespect. Some people are really disrespectful. Right? Seriously. We can't just sit back and, okay, you have a beef. I understand you may have your beef with Dr. Rowley. But the questions, we have to admit that the questions that Akash asked him were very relevant. Were very, very relevant to the situation that we find ourselves in. Right? And as Mr. Gary Griffith would have said earlier on, that situation that what we're hearing is a cut and paste. And you know what? I would really like if Mr. Gary Griffith will release the statements that were made back then and what is being said now. And you'll see it. It's cut and paste. But yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. Yeah. Yellow is the code. That's what they say. Yep. That's what they said to us, and that's what you all believe. And that's why we are dealing with what we're dealing with right now. I don't know. Anybody else? I don't know. I don't know what to say.
When UNC wins, everybody wins. When UNC wins, Trinbago wins. Trinbago wins. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, now is the time to rise and shine. Tell your mother, tell your father, now is the time to decide. If you want leaders who can build, place your ex by the rising sun. If you want leaders who can lead properly, place your ex by the rising sun. On election day, vote UNC. One love, one team, one hope, one dream. On election day, vote UNC. One love, one team, one hope, one dream. When UNC wins, everybody wins. When UNC wins, Trinbago wins. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. Vote for peace. Vote for love. Vote for hope. Vote for change. When UNC wins, everybody wins. When UNC wins, Trinbago wins. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, now is the time to